What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm back in the building. As you can see, I'm kind of congested now. Like, I don't even know what's going on with me at the moment, but we're going to power through this thing, man. We appreciate y'all continued support. Last night, we had a 90-minute live and had a lot of people in the room. I thank everybody for showing up. We're talking about this Caitlin Clark stuff that's going on, and there's been some commentary right now recently from Shannon Sharpe and Cheryl Miller, in fact, talking about Caitlin Clark and the blow up that happened with her and Christy Sides. And we're going to dig in a little bit on this one. And, the reality is we're not lip readers. We can get an idea of what's going on, and we'll give you our thoughts on it. So before we do, let's hit the intro, man. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez. Show on, hit that hype button, that like button, subscribe to the channel. Both channels, in fact. Come On Now, the podcast, and Indiana Fever Unfiltered. And of course, leave your comments, man. Let me know what y'all thoughts are on the content. We are in the month of June, June 1st. We are over 16,000 subs. We appreciate y'all continued support. Our goal is to get to 17,000 by middle of this month if we can. That'd be really nice. But we do thank you for your support in the channels. Let's jump in on this thing, man, because there's been some comments made by Cheryl Miller, some comments made by Shannon Sharpe about the incident that happened with Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark. And look, we can all agree that the look of what happened on the sideline in this particular game wasn't a great look for anybody involved. And we're going to show you, remind you about what exactly happened here. Because it's not a good look. You don't like to have these types of things pop, but they do. And here is what happened in case you forgot. But the intriguing part about this is I'm looking at one person yelling at one person. Okay. There's 5 people sitting here on this bench. You got Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, Caitlin, Michaela Timpson. There's someone on the far left. And she is looking right at Caitlin Clark, and she is reaming Caitlin Clark. Now, I don't know what time of the game this was, but she is chewing her out. And okay, so we put Raven Johnson in the game. Got rid of the blue pillow there. And she's still yelling the guard, I guess. But so that's what happened. And I'm going to give you my first impression of the whole thing. You already know that Caitlin Clark isn't a good defensive player. Why aren't you putting Caitlin Clark in positions to be successful defensively? Why aren't you looking at everybody? Because their team defense is bad. And if you think their team defense is bad because of Caitlin Clark, well, then there's a serious problem with you, because I can tell you for sure that there is not an issue with Caitlin. It's not a sole Caitlin Clark situation here. Kelsey Mitchell can't guard on ball. Lexi Hull can't guard on ball. Aaliyah Boston can barely keep a big out of the paint. They are defensively bad. And this woman insists on playing man to man defense pretty much the entire game. And sure, they're going to go put her on the least explosive guard option. And that makes sense, right? But what happens? You're going to have a team look to expose that in pick and roll over and over and over again. Oh, yeah, the offense that you're supposed to be running that you're not running because, well, you don't seem to care for Caitlin being very successful, in my opinion. But hey, that's what it is. So you have a situation right now where you are getting crushed on pick and roll because what's happening is you can put her on the worst player offensively, but then when they run a screen roll to get her shifted over to the the player they want to get her in the ISO act, well, your your big doesn't go on your big screws it up almost all the time. So Aaliyah Boston never drops. So Caitlin's getting killed there. But then when it's a guard on guard, it's like they automatically switch. And that's not how you defend that. You can't just automatically switch. There has to be a hedge. You have to push through the screen or go. You have to make a decision. You go under the screen or over the screen, but you can't just switching is not the answer. Beyond that, I've been calling for Stephanie White to put this team in a zone many times, and she doesn't do it. She just doesn't do it. And so we're first going to look at what was said by Shannon Sharpe. He says specifically, "Y'all know me. I've been in Caitlin Clark's corner." Sharpe, let me see. Let me start off here. Starts off here where she says, "This is not isolated. It's every night. She doesn't play defense." Why are you trying to drop a play offensively? Guard your man defensively. I don't know what that meant there. Then he says, y'all know me. I've been in Caitlin Clark's corner, but enough is enough now. I'm tired of her behavior. I'm tired of the shoving. I'm tired of the entitlement. Y'all say she got passion, but where's that passion on defense? Because guess what? Everybody's doing. They're attacking her. Now I understand why you would attack her because you want to get her you want her to burn up energy defensively. I think it's slightly unfair to say she doesn't try to play defense. I think it's more realistic that she's just not very good at it and that she doesn't shuffle her feet well defensively. And I can tell you this, I know for a fact. Yes, people can say it's all about effort. Well, Lexi Hall is an all effort player, and I think her defense still stinks. She falling down 15 times a game doesn't make you a good defensive player. And if you think it does, then we just have a fundamental difference of opinion as to what good defense and bad defense is. I keep telling people that shuffling your feet is what plays defense, not your hands, not your arms. It's staying in front of your opponent. And it doesn't mean you got to be up on them like this. You can be off of them, but you got to just stay in front of them. Keep them in front of you. And I think Caitlin Clark is doing the probably, I don't know if it's the best she can do, but pretty close to the best she can do. I don't think she's not naturally quick defensively. And you could see it. You could see like her shuffling sucks. Like she doesn't shuffle her feet well. And again, then what does that lead back to? Do you guys work on defense in practice? Do y'all work on shuffling y'all feet in practice? I mean, I know my son's 12U team works on defense in practice. Or do you guys just roll the ball out there and scrimmage over and over again? Oh, I don't know, because everyone's hurt, so you can't work on charge drills. You can't work on anything that is physical in nature. So I don't even know if they work on defense, to be honest. I don't know. But that's what Shannon Sharpe had to say. And then Joe Johnson was also on the podcast. He mentioned, we're going to attack you. Sure, as expected. But it's also your job as a head coach to help your best player, your best scorer, similar to how you would help a Luka who doesn't guard or can't guard, and you end up playing his own with him. But he's also 6'7" and 240 pounds. So there is that physical nature that he has to him. But I find it cute when he says something like, he says, I'm tired of the shoving. Well, the shoving of what? You mean, well, shoving what? Tired of the behavior. What behavior? You're tired of the tantrums? Okay, then say the tantrums. The entitlement. What's the entitlement? Like that's some shit that a lot of black people use on white people. I've noticed that of late. Like I've not heard a black person talk about another black person and say entitlement ever. And I'm not making this racial, but I'm saying what I know to be a fact. The word entitlement is never used on a black person, but it's used against white people, and it's used typically by black folks against white folks. No different than the term white privilege. White people don't use that term. Black folks do. And so you have a black man here saying, you're tired of the entitlement. Well, what's the entitlement, Shannon? Because you're the type of guy that will be on the sideline like mocking your opponent. Like you get on the phone with the fake phone and you'd say like you're calling 911 or something like that. Like you make fun. You were one of the biggest trash talkers in the NFL. One of the biggest trash talkers in the NFL. And you ran your mouth constantly. You had an attitude about you. Um, did you have some type of entitled attitude that you thought you could say whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted, however you wanted, because you were great? Probably so. So you had a mentality that because you were great, and I'm acknowledging you were great, that you could say whatever you want, whenever you want, however you wanted. Now, if someone was holding you on a pass pattern, you'd probably lose your shit if it got missed. Now imagine you were getting held every play 3 times a play. I mean, ask yourself that. If you were being fouled, a penalty was being committed against you on you 3 times a play, every play for an entire game. Ask yourself that. Because you're talking about entitlement and behavior and shoving. Well, she got to shove off to get loose of people that are grabbing her, and it doesn't get called. And I'm one of the biggest people that says that she needs to not complain and just play ball. But at a certain point, I'm not the one being grabbed the entire game. There's video footage of her being fouled constantly and calls not being made. Again, if you call everything, we'll be here all day. But it doesn't change the fact that she's being fouled constantly. And it doesn't change the fact that what was happening in that video specifically, where she has her hands up like this, she's basically saying, I got my hands up. What else am I supposed to do? Is what I'm guessing she's saying in an upset way. What am I supposed to do? My hands are up. I didn't touch nobody twice, and I got called for a foul. I'm in foul trouble. You want me to foul out? Like, you want me to foul out? What do you want me to do? Because you put Raven Johnson in, and Raven Johnson had 6 fouls in 10 minutes. And Caitlin had 5 in 22 minutes. So they had 11 fouls between their 2 point guards in 32 minutes. That's a significant amount of fouls called. And 2 of them were clearly not fouls on Caitlin Clark. I can't speak on Raven Johnson's, but 2 of those fouls that called on Caitlin Clark were not fouls. And rather than challenge them to protect your best player from getting into foul trouble, Stephanie White doesn't do so. And rather than go into a zone to protect your best player from foul trouble, Stephanie White doesn't do so. And then you have this thing right here. So I asked Shannon Sharpe, like, how would you take it if you were being held constantly and they didn't call it? And that's what happens with Caitlin Clark. And I'm sure she's absolutely tired of it. So then we got this one right here with Cheryl Miller and Sue Bird, where Cheryl Miller gives her 2 cents on this situation.
Shifting our attention to Indiana. After starting the season 4-2, the Fever have lost 2 in a row, and they're coming off a 16-point loss to the Fire yesterday. Cheryl, from what you're seeing, what's happening in Indianapolis?
Right now, it's frustration, and unfortunately, it's boiling over, and it's being seen. It's one thing to have it behind closed doors, but when it spills over, and when the coach has to basically say, "Hey, you know what, Caitlin? Enough is enough. This is too disruptive." In and out, take a seat. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's frustration. I'm not like the best lip reader, but I feel like Stephanie White did say defense a couple times. And Caitlin Clark was in foul trouble this game. And obviously we know how things were being called. So I think it is a lot of frustration, but it's also like not that crazy. This isn't the first time we've seen this. It doesn't have some deeper meaning to it. I've had moments like that with coaches. I think it speaks to relationships, player-coach relationships. Like shout out Brian Agler. You could say anything to that man and you could keep it moving. And then I had other coaches where maybe you couldn't, and you have to learn each other in that way.
But you knew
Steph
the
got
line.
mad.
But you
Yeah,
knew
Steph-
you knew the line when it becomes disruptive, and then when you and that's when even Kelsey Mitchell kind of chimed in and said, like, you need to go stand over
For
here
sure.
and let us just like regain the calm in our huddle. When it becomes that disruptive to the entire team, somebody has to step in.
I'm going to stop this right here for a second. Disruptive. I'm going to use that word that Cheryl Miller used, disruptive. They're getting their ass kicked in this game. So I don't think it had shit to do with being disruptive. I think the problem is that it's automatically assumed or it's assumed by Cheryl Miller that Caitlin Clark's the issue. And she might be the issue. But there's no assumption that Stephanie White could be the issue. There's no assumption or thought that Stephanie White, this is how the national media swings this shit. There's no acknowledgement that this is not a one game thing. This happens every game with these two. Stephanie White seems to be riding Caitlin Clark every game. Like there seems to be a spat at some point between these two in every single game. Whether she grabs her arm, whether the assistant coach is yelling at her for something. Like, you don't see these coaches yelling at other players on this team the way they're yelling at Caitlin Clark. And I'm all for tough love. I got no problem with everyone catching it. But it seems like she's the only one that catches it. You don't see her yelling at Aaliyah Boston. You don't see her yelling at Kelsey Mitchell or Lexi or anybody on this team. No one else is being yelled at by by White or any one of these coaches the way Caitlin Clark gets yelled at by them. I mean, it's a bit. You want to say disruptive? Well, maybe the disruptive parties are the coaches. Maybe they're part of the problem. Maybe they are the problem. Maybe there's ownership in all facets from all parties. Caitlin Clark is a hothead. Fine. Stephanie White is not helping her become a better player. I mean, at a certain point, when you're riding somebody all the time, you've changed the offense to take the ball from them. Like, that's not what I'm here for. You want me to be a fucking lockdown defender? I'm not a lockdown defender. I'm not. And you guys have me on an island every time against the opponent's best scorer. They're running switches constantly because they're getting you on the best scorer. Like that's obvious. She can't guard Veronica Burton on a switch. It never happened. There's a lot of players she can't guard. So it's your job, coach, to figure out ways to protect her. And you don't. And so you're screaming at her on the sideline to where people are recording it. And you can talk about defense all day. Your team's giving up over 91 points per game. That's not an individual failure. That's a team failure that you're trying to put on your star player. And Sue Bird says it might be a bit of nothing. But I don't know if it is because this is an every game thing, it seems like. But Cheryl Miller really is going in here.
Well, that's my question for both of you, because you've played on teams where there are high expectations. You know what that pressure can be like. Are these moments actually impacting their ability to win games? That's the question. Is there more to this? Because at the end of the day, if you're winning, no one even blinks at that conversation in the huddle. But that's not what happened. So
I think in this game, it did. I think they got off to a great start. If you hadn't watched, they then faced a Portland team that when you give them any kind of confidence, they get rolling. They get rolling. It's really.
All right, let's then see. Now we can go back. They got off to a great start because Caitlin Clark had 3 assists and a basket in the first 3 minutes, and then you took her out of the game. Whose fault was that? Whose fault was that? Like, this is what I'm talking about. I want to see if I haven't heard the whole thing, so I want to hear if she mentions Stephanie White yanking Caitlin Clark 3.5 minutes in with an 8-4 lead, and next thing you know, you're down, 19-10 with Caitlin sitting on the bench.
hard to keep up. And in the midst of this was foul trouble, I think
I'm gonna pull this off the screen because I don't want to have this get demonetized for the video.
a disconnectedness amongst the team. And then, yeah, it ended up, the frustrations boiling over, ended up having them lose this game on the road in the ways in which they did.
They didn't lose this game because of their frustrations. They lost this game because they got outplayed and they got dominated. That wasn't because of the frustration with Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. Like, let's not make some bullshit up. When did that situation with Stephanie White happen? I have no idea, but I can tell you it didn't happen in the first quarter.
And everyone's talking about Indiana and their defense or lack of. And all the fingers are being pointed towards Caitlin Clark. And look, if I'm Caitlin, everyone this season is going to come with straight at her because they want to see if she's physically able to keep up. She is, but now people are turning the corner on her, saying that we can get past her, we can score on her. So now, like I said, if I'm Caitlin Clark, I'm going to take this personally and do something about it.
Yeah, what does need to happen in Indy for them to get back on track?
Oh, specific to what we're talking about with Caitlin and kind of getting ISO'd, that's been me. I've experienced this. I'll tell you exactly what I did. I went and I learned every single tendency of every single player I was going to be guarding because everyone has one thing they don't want to do, and you got to make them do that thing.
Sure, where you going?
All right, so that's that on that particular thing. So I'm glad Sue Burr brought that up. She mentioned I was that player. People tried to take advantage of me, blase, and what happened? I had to do some homework. So I knew how to play them better. And so maybe that is something that Caitlin Clark has to do. She has to get in the school books and get ready for teams and get ready to know their tendencies and stuff like that. Stuff that you should already been doing as a professional. But as you know, the league doesn't really work that way, which is why it's clear as day this team defensively is a complete failure because I don't think they watch much film as a group to prepare defensively for people. And I don't think that the players do any individual work on defensive assignments and such. So I do find it interesting how it's automatically assumed that Caitlin Clark is the issue and it's not the coaching and it's not Stephanie White. When I think they all have ownership in this shit. But tell you what, man, people who you thought were on your side are clearly shown that they're not to be at this point. I love Caitlin Clark. There are things I've criticized about Caitlin Clark constantly. I thought that sideline, spat there was embarrassing in terms of you only see it happen with Caitlin and this coach. You don't see any other players getting reamed out this way. So it's just it starts to view as if you have a problem with her. You have a problem with her. And if you have a problem with her, guess what? Trade her. Trade her. You don't want to deal with it? Stephanie, trade her. There's plenty of teams that would love to have her on their squad. I can promise you that. And would turn those teams into immediate contenders. But hey, y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hype the video. This is Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.